I'm Dru Stevenson. This is for my Nonprofit Incorporations class. And here we're going to be talking about 990 forms. These are forms that most nonprofit organizations have to file every year with the IRS, and they're the analog of corporate income tax filings that would have to be filed every year. For some organizations, these are very simple and straightforward and don't take a lot of time. For other nonprofit organizations, these are quite lengthy and even burdensome, and organizations often will have an attorney help them complete and submit the forms every year. So let's dive in. In this video, I'm not going to go into comprehensive detail or give a tutorial about exactly how to fill out the forms. In my class, I don't require that you complete these forms as part of your final project, but you definitely need to be aware of them because in practice, if you help a client create or set up a nonprofit and obtain tax exemption, this is something that they need to be aware of, that you need to advise them about. You may be able to help them with in a year. And as we'll see later on, you may need to file this. Some nonprofits, depending on when they incorporate and file for their application for their tax exemption, may need to do this actually kind of right away. So to give the big picture here, these are annual nonprofit filings. It's in some ways, you could think of it as representing part of a regulatory bargain where we give organizations tax exempt status on the money that comes in. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they have a filing free existence, that they never have to file anything or report anything to the federal government. And so filing the 990 form is a primary compliance obligation in exchange for 501(c)(3) status. And this is going to be a pretty detailed report of organizational, financial, and programmatic data. Now, notice that with these annual nonprofit filings, that there's a public transparency component to this. This is definitely something that attorneys should advise their clients about. This is something that makes nonprofit filings every year different from for-profit corporations. So unlike the standard for-profit corporate tax returns, 990 and 990T forms must be made available for public inspection. Now, an important exception to be aware of is that churches or schools associated with churches, not all Christian schools or denominationally affiliated schools, but a school that's kind of operated by a church or mission societies are exempt from this usual 990 filing requirement. I have in asterisks in small print. Usually there are some exceptions to that, but the big exception is generally churches don't have to file annual 990 forms, but you should assume any other nonprofit for the organization is going to have to file at least one of the types of 990 forms. So which form should you file? One thing that's a little confusing about this is that there are several different types of 990 forms, and it depends on the type of nonprofit, generally how big or how much money the nonprofit has coming in every year. The standard form, which can be quite lengthy, is the Form 990, and this is used by most large public charities. Now, if you have a brand new nonprofit that has just started, they're trying to get off the ground, they're barely scraping by or something like that, there's a good chance that they won't have to file the standard form. But if you have a big established nonprofit, they probably will. Then there's a 990EZ. This is a shorter form for mid-sized nonprofit organizations with lower gross receipts and total assets. And then the easiest one of all is the 990N form, which is basically an e-Postcard. This is basically one-page email, a simplified electronic notice for very small nonprofits. There's a couple other variations on the 990 form that lawyers should be aware of. One is the 990PF, and this is specifically for organizations classified as private foundations. And get ready for this one to have some pretty extensive reporting requirements. And then there's the 990T, which is required if the nonprofit generates $1,000 or more in gross income from unrelated business income, or UBI. And I will have a separate video where I explain unrelated business income and unrelated unrelated business income taxes. There are some things nonprofits can do that are as fundraisers that are still going to be part of their tax exempt purpose, but sometimes nonprofits undertake activities to generate revenue that really are not are for-profit activities, and they will have to pay taxes on those. But I'll talk about that in a separate lecture. Now, I want to make sure my students understand that not filing a 990 at all can be a very serious mistake for a nonprofit organization or for their counsel. So failure to file the 990, even the 990N, or actually whatever 990 variant you're supposed to file for 3 consecutive years, is likely to result in an automatic revocation of the organization's tax exempt status. And most organizations, when their tax exempt status is revoked, are going to end up having to dissolve and disband the organization. And as you can imagine, if an attorney was responsible for this and either didn't do it or didn't advise the organization, this could be grounds for a legal malpractice action. So organizations must file a 990, even if their Form 1023 application for exemption is still pending before the IRS. So, as you know, it takes months and months and months to hear from the IRS after you apply for tax exempt status. And depending on when you start, you may need to file a 990 form for your first year before you have your tax exempt determination letter from the IRS. So let's talk a little bit about the timelines and the deadlines. The default or standard timeline for filing a 990 form is the 15th day of the 5th month following the close of whatever the organization's fiscal year is. So if a organization decides that their fiscal year is going to track the calendar year, so it's going to go from January 1st to December 31st, May 15th is going to be the date that by which you need to file your 990s for a calendar year entity. And of course, I don't want to go too far into this here, but some organizations could choose to have a different time period as their fiscal year, but you're going to have to be consistent year after year. And again, I mentioned this already, but watch out for the short year danger. Suppose a nonprofit incorporates late in the year, like maybe even in November or December. Its first tax year may be only 1 month long in that case, because they existed only for 1 month if they're going to have their fiscal year start again in January. So they're going to have a filing deadline much sooner than a lot of nonprofit startup founders anticipate. So it will seem like they just incorporated, they sent in their documents, they haven't even gotten a determination letter from the IRS, and all of a sudden it's May and their 990 forms are due for their first year. There can be pretty serious consequences besides just revocation of your tax exempt status, although that's catastrophic for the organization if you don't file 990. So there can be individual accountability or liability. In other words, the IRS can bypass limited liability protections for unpaid taxes and penalties. So if they think that you owed something, especially for something like unrelated business income taxes or employee taxes, which nonprofits may also have to pay, the fact that it was a nonprofit does not mean that the managers and directors and board members couldn't be held personally liable for the taxes that the nonprofit was supposed to pay and didn't. The IRS can collect substantial penalties directly from the individuals, the officers and directors responsible for the corporation's reporting and tax payments if the entity itself lacks sufficient cash. And I've seen this happen where organizations haven't really been filing their 990 forms. That triggers some sort of audit from the IRS. And as they start looking into it, they actually realize the nonprofit did owe something, either because they had some fundraising ventures that were really unrelated for-profit and enterprises, or they owed taxes on other things besides, but not necessarily their revenue or income, and they didn't pay it. So if you're an attorney and you're helping a nonprofit set up, it gets started, this is something that you're going to need to explain to people that there can be legal liability for the people that run the organization if they don't stay on top of filing the tax returns, or if the organization owes money to the government, specifically taxes, and the organization itself is financially defunct. Okay, that brings us to the conclusion of my little video for my students about 990 forms. If you need more details and instructions, there's very helpful, tediously detailed instructions on the IRS website that you can obtain for how to fill out every field of your 990 forms. And there's books and guides and other YouTube tutorials that you can get. What's important, though, at the startup phase is for law students or lawyers to be aware that there is this annual filing obligation for most nonprofits. You should advise clients of this and feel free to offer to assist clients with it when the filings are due. Thanks for watching.